This is Central Texas Living with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody. Ann Harder here. You know, Central Texas has some very close ties to Hollywood, and maybe in a bit of an unexpected way. Talking about the Navarro County town of Corsicana, where the police chief there is really making his mark in Hollywood on the silver screen. Robert Johnson, Chief Robert Johnson, is here with us. His executive producer as well, Amber McNutt, and it is wonderful to have you both here to talk about a whole bunch of movies you've got
talk
out.
about everything. I mean, come on in. We go back, a few years now.
When we did Central Texas Living, the TV show, you were on a couple of times, a couple of movies you were involved with, and I guess it's not that unusual for someone as a part-time thing to also do some acting, but you have your SAG card, your AFTRA card, which that's kind of a big deal to be an actual union actor, right? You have to go through a little process
I'm not sure.
that.
I don't know how many police chiefs, are SAG after. I have no clue.
Yeah, probably not a lot.
I don't know how many, but it was special to me. It was special to me, and I got my start, I guess, in 2010. And there's a long story behind that, and me, I'll probably tell it while we're here.
We got the time.
Absolutely, but
I mean, you were in the reboot of Dallas.
Wasn't the reboot. That was kind of like a little launching pad for me, actually.
Yeah.
And that was an accident. To be honest with you, every Thursday, a friend of mine, Lawrence Venado, who actually plays Detective Dan Putman in our new movie Night Night, which is out right now. Lawrence Venado, and he's also in Redstone that I think we're going to talk about today as well.
We've got a lot of movies to talk about.
A lot of movies. Lawrence, we worked together for a number of years, and I've known him. He's been one of my closest friends for 2 decades, and we would play golf on Thursdays in Dallas, and there's a little hangout that we used to go to when we got through, and it was called the Purple Onion, and it was over off of Industrial. Just, nothing in there was over probably $5. It's just an old place. They had all these old 1940s and 50s black and white, headshots up of everybody. And Lawrence had gotten into acting, but he didn't tell anybody. He just kind of did a secretive, just kind of test the water. And he started having some success. And he said, Robert, you got to try this. You'll love it. And I'm like, you're going to laugh at this. I didn't like speaking in public at the time. Now you can't shut me the hell up. I remember sitting at that table looking at everybody. I said, no, that's not for me. And one day we get through playing golf, and he comes in and says, there's an ABC movie of the week coming up, and they've already had 2 casting calls, which means they go through all the agents. People from all over the U.S. Apply.
A lot of people want to be in movies and on TV.
They all absolutely.
Yeah.
And you look at the time that's involved in it, because he would tell me about having to go home, learn the lines, having to be at this audition, that, and just made my stomach turn. The stress.
Thought, how could I do that and be a police chief too?
Well, just how can I even do that and maintain that stress? Because, like I said, just you're having to perform in front of people, which is scary.
Right. So you've never acted before.
I've never acted before in my life. Never.
Unbelievable.
And we're sitting there.
So you're a natural.
No.
Don't think so?
Just like everything else, I'm not afraid to fail, and I'm not afraid to fail big. Embarrassment doesn't bother me. And I think that's one of the keys to it, because you're going to fail over and over and over again. Yeah. And if you're embarrassed and you fail, the difference between success and failure is you get up, you dust yourself off, and you do it again. And you're going to fail again, and you dust yourself off, and you tweak it some more, and eventually you succeed if you do not stop. And success is measured at very different, different points in your life at different things. And so he said, we hadn't been able to fill these 2 roles. One was for a female role, and one was for a Texas Ranger. And so I sent two shots from my iPhone 3. They tell you how long it was. two selfies, and we're sitting there in the thing, and we sent it to the cast. And I said, hey, you don't know who I am, but this is what I look like. This is what I do for a living. Put my number on there and send it in to her. That was just kind of a lark, a laugh.
Yeah.
Well, 2 days later, I got a call, and they said, hey, how would you like to come in? We was out measuring for a fence, and you know how you can hear if you're so close to somebody, and I got the phone on, and it was the casting director, and the casting director said, hey, hi, this is so-and-so. And my wife could hear because she was right there behind me. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. She said, well, you sent me a couple of pictures. you know, and I'm like, huh, what? You know, Stacy's looking at me. And we laugh about that, you know. And then she told me, now, she said, how would you like to audition for this movie, for The Texas Ranger? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, it was going to be my war story to go back and tell my people.
I did this.
Yeah, you know, kind of the big shot. I went back and, you know, tell everybody I auditioned for a movie, you know. So I said, absolutely. And I didn't know how the business worked. I thought it was going to be a couple of weeks. I'll get to work with my buddy Larry. He'll teach me how to do this
and
stuff.
where did they shoot this?
This was in Dallas.
In Dallas.
And I was
so
living,
it's convenient. Yeah.
And I was in Corsicana, you know.
Right.
And so I'm sitting back there. Next thing I know, I said, okay, great. I'm going to text you the address. I need you here at 1 o'clock. It was 11 o'clock. Boy, my stomach turned. And so I come in, and I'm dressed in, you know, black cowboy hat, actually a shirt kind of this color. V-neck, you know, shirt under it, you know, undershirt, boots and jeans, and I come walking in there, and you could tell every place that wasn't covered by the T-shirt was solid sweat. I mean, I am sweating, had that big V in the front and all. I go in there and try to dry myself off under the hand dryer, you know, and I came out, and all down this hallway, on both sides of the hallway were people lined up, because this was a cattle call audition. Right. It was just like, I was number 73. I'll never forget it. It was kind of like American Idol at that point. Sure. And so I sat there, and this lady next to me, after about 10 minutes, she goes, so you knew at this? I went, yeah, how'd you know? And she said, well, you're about to dehydrate over here. Are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm good. She said, and also you got to go sign up. And so I had to walk in front of all of these people down the hallway on both sides. And at auditions, people look at you and they try to psych you out, right? And they try to figure out who you are. You know, I looked the part, but I had fear in my eyes. And when I'm walking down that hallway, and you know how you try to walk cool? You know, okay, people are looking at me, so I kind of want to walk cool. I get I not even 20 feet down that damn hall, and my boot catches on the carpet, and there I go. And there I go. And I was just, my confidence just went, and you could hear the people just, you know, start laughing at me.
Oh, gosh.
And we get up, and I go sign in, and, you know, I'm Robert Johnson, and the lady looks at me. She has a Russian accent. She said, and I can't do a Russian accent, I don't even want to try. And her name was Jana, and she still works in the business. And she goes, name Robert Johnson, represented, excuse me? I represent the police department. No. Are you represented by agent? Oh, no. Headshot. Excuse me?
That's a bad term in your business.
Yeah, she says a headshot. She
exactly.
said your picture, and everybody had, because everybody had, the resume. And everything.
Yeah, and their little folder.
So I pulled up my iPhone and I held it up to her, and she's just looking at me like, I'm fixing to stab you with this pencil, and so we signed in, and by the time I got up there, walk in, I did the audition, and basically they said, okay, we need you. They didn't even have actually a script for me or the size. They said, we just want you to we're going to call out the scenario. They're going to act it out. And what would you do on the job?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Total improv.
Yeah. And I was like,
for a newbie actor.
Yeah, I can.
Oh my gosh,
I can do that. And then they said, okay, we need you to tone it back just a little bit, Mm-hmm. And so I did. Thank you, and I left. And I remember walking out and called my wife to come get me because they went shopping. They came and got me, and I walked out there and went, oh my gosh, I just blew this. This is so embarrassing. But obviously, I went back and told everybody, yes, I rocked it, guys. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't fall or anything.
Well, they if they don't hear from you, if you don't hear from them, you didn't get it, right? Well, I got a call the next week, and it's the same casting director said, "Hey, look, man, you didn't get it, but there's something about you that do you want to come on Lone Star?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, it's a new show being shot, and they had David Keith and Angelina Jolie's dad, John Boyd, in it, and they said we'd like to be an extra in it." And I said, "What's an extra?" They said, well, you'll be in the background. Nobody recognize you. You'll have about 0.2 seconds on screen. Mm-hmm. You'll be there 12 hours. You absolutely hate it and get paid nothing pretty much. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah. And I'm
Sign me up.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
They said, okay, wear your best suit and show up at the studios of Las Colinas. Well, I showed up at the studios of Las Colinas, and I walked in there. I was like, boy, this is beautiful. I'm in this nice place, all these pretty people, and we're all dressed to the nines. And this was in, September, probably that year, and it rained the night before, and Texas heat and humidity. Next thing they know, they go, okay, everybody outside. And they had this wedding tent outside, and it was, all the stars stay inside, in the trailers and all, and we had to stay out there, and I'm in a full suit, tie, everything, and you are burning. We had people pass out and everything else out there.
The glamour of show business.
Absolutely. My blood sugar's dropping and everything, so I left. At the end of the day, I said, I'm out of here. I'm enough of this, and it was I guess probably about 20 minutes later, I'm putting my stuff in the truck, and a guy comes up and goes, hey, you look like you make a great cop. And at the time, I was about 240, flat top. And he goes, I'm like, well, duh,
I kind of do that for a living.
Yeah, he was directing the next episode.
Oh.
So I came back as a featured extra, which, so I had a lot of screen time, no lines.
No lines.
Nobody told me I couldn't talk. I didn't know I couldn't talk. They did something, and I gave an order to them, and they go, cut. You can't talk. What do you mean I can't talk?
That's what I would say.
That's what I would say. And, at that moment right there, I fell in love with the business. And next thing I know, I applied for an agent. Immediately they said, I'll get the form letter as soon as I hit send. As soon as it hit send, ding, there's another ding. Sorry, not interested. You don't have experience, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And a couple of days later, the owner of the talent agency, Teresa Natera, she gave me a call with Core Talent. She said, there's something about you, your voice and all, that I want to see. I want you to come in and audition. So I went in and auditioned, and next thing I know, she took a chance on me. And, your very first auditions you normally go on with an agent is your little low-budget local commercials. Mm-hmm. I want my money now.
Right.
Yeah, and so I'm coming home one day, and I get this ding on my phone. It said, you got an audition. I'm like, oh, cool. And they sent me stuff. Well, it's for Dallas, the reboot of Dallas.
The reboot of Dallas.
The pilot episode, and went back for the
what role was it? Was it a cop?
The sheriff, yeah.
You were a cop,
the sheriff. And so I was on the first 3 episodes of Dallas, and all of my stuff was with.
So then you were bitten. The bug
with Josh and
sure.
Duffy,
mm-hmm.
Patrick Duffy, who ended up working with again on Traffic later,
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of the folks I know in reading your resume on IMDb, a lot of the movies that you've done now in the subsequent years, a lot of the same names pop up. I want to bring Amber into this. So Amber, you're an actor as well, and also executive producer. And I think that's what I see that also, Robert, you're writing a lot of screenplays and also doing some producing. And so I'm curious about all this. So we've heard Robert's story. How did you get into it? Did you just happen to know him? You're from Corsicana, or how did
Robert drugged me into it.
I drug her in.
No, I had a little bit of experience before, but he approached me with our director, Nikki Koss. And, well, actually, let me back up.
Actually, it started
here.
before that.
Before that, yeah.
We met on
American Zombieland, yeah. So we showed up for a scene, and I was the mayor's wife, and he was a sheriff.
I was kind of a goofy sheriff. Wouldn't much of a change, you know what I'm saying?
And I was prissy. That wasn't much of a change either, was it? Anyway, and so we met and we were in this scene together. I don't even remember. I think they cut a lot of that scene when we were inside with the fruit cakes, and they were supposedly making the zombie cakes. Anyway, it's a silly movie, but it's actually pretty good for a zombie movie. But so we got to talking and stayed in touch. And then we also worked on Undying together, which should come out soon. That was years ago.
So you also have an agent and have your SAG
don't have
card.
an agent.
You don't have
no,
really?
And I keep putting SAG off. I just I get those letters.
Yeah, the Screen Actors Guild. I thought it was just that you have to have that card. So,
well, in
but
Texas,
you're doing independent movies, so I guess that.
Well, Texas is right to work state.
Right.
You don't have to be SAG to work there, but I do a lot of work in California and other states as well.
If I work in California,
she would have to join.
That would be your entree to that.
I'm waiting as long as I can.
She's done three or four SAG parts so far. So she's definitely.
So eligible. you could do that if you chose to do. So lots of films. You did a lot of when you came on Central Texas Living, the show, I think you were promoting at that time Warning Shot.
Yes.
With Bruce Dern was in that, James Earl Jones. David Spade, he's a comedian. It was his first dramatic role, which everyone's like, oh.
He's good.
So, and you played a role in that as well.
Just a little cameo in that. That was the first film that I bought the Corsicana. I'd retired up in the Dallas area, although I still lived in Corsicana, and I drove back and forth every day for 24 years. Mm-hmm. My home and heart is in Corsicana.
Right.
That's where I live at. That's where I'll die at one day. Hopefully a long time.
Oh, yeah, long way off.
But, there's something about small towns that you just can't take out of me. I was raised in Fairfield, ended up in Corsicana in 87 when I met my wife. So, that was one that I wanted to learn to get in the other side of the business. I'm always one of those that, you hedge your bets. You try to learn everything you possibly can, because if one portion of the business is slow, you may have another portion that's not, or you may have another portion later on. And I think it's good to be well-rounded in it, so you really understand. And it's made me a much better actor. It's made me a better producer. It's made me a better writer, because I've done it all. Just like when I'm writing, some words are written to be read, some words are written to be said. Yes, and a lot of people don't get that until they try to say it. It looks great on paper. When you try to say it, your tongue just gets twisted. And so that I wanted to learn, and how you learn to produce is you normally come on as associate producer, which we pretty much have the power as an associate producer to, with approval from a producer, validate your parking ticket maybe, and you do everything, for little to no pay. But that's to learn the business. You have to pay your dues, and I got, some people go to school for this. I got it on the ground, learning as we went. Baptism.
You've learned everything on the fly.
Everything on the fly. I learned much better that way. And, to be able to work on a film like that with such great people was very much a blessing to me, because, number one, I'd just come back to Corsicana as their police chief. I'd just been appointed, after going through 3 months of interviews with them. I retired. That came up, and my wife was like, don't do it. Just, I got to do it because I love this town, And so I did it. And, I remember the day that we announced that, and the local paper did an article, and they said, hey, we're going to have David Spade, James Earl Jones, Bruce Dern, those are pretty huge names.
Yeah, big names.
Real big names. Dwight Henry from 12 Years a Slave. Those are very huge names. And I remember reading some of the remarks on there, some people, that's not going to happen. They're not going to come to Corsicana. Oh, this is a scam, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, it was like 2 or 3 days later, somebody posted a picture of David eating salad at Applebee's. And they're like, don't.
It actually happened.
Yeah.
It actually happened. We're going to take a break, but before we do that, we're going to show you all a trailer from the movie that we're going to talk about first. It's called Night Night. Stay with us.
Do you remember anything prior to the accident? Or maybe even the accident?
Did I make it? What was ideally a routine traffic accident is now a murder investigation.
Ms. Davis, I'm Detective Dan Putman, and we're with the Crimes Against Persons Division.
It feels so weird to be outside again.
It's been 5 months.
You okay?
Everything just turned upside down for a second. Ever since I got out of the hospital, really weird things have been happening. I don't know if somebody's trying to mess with me, hurt me, or if it's just all in my head.
That's a pretty big place to be staying alone.
I got an email from a travel company I've never heard of before. Places to visit before you die. This family was in every single spot. It was a husband, a wife, and one of the kids was wearing yellow shoes, and the other had a stuffed monkey.
Have you seen or read anything about your accident? Something strange caught my eye, so I pulled the AI folder.
That's creepy.
Do any of these look familiar?
Oh my God. I don't know if I'm freaking out or hallucinating because of these meds.
April, wake up!
You have to be careful mixing wine and pills like that.
I haven't slept in 2 days. And I'm just feeling very vulnerable and confused right now. Because what if there's a logical explanation for all of this? Get out of your house, something's wrong.
You're not making any sense. All right, you're starting to freak me out.
Yeah, a very, very compelling trailer that for Night Night. So, Robert, you tell me your role in that. You wrote Night Night.
Wrote Night Night. One day I was sitting at the house and I was like, I want to try writing, and that's just how I do. I don't follow a traditional path. I don't think on anything that I've ever done in my life. I've never followed a traditional path, and so I wrote one called Demon in Dangerfield, and it was horror. Then I wrote another one, and then one night I was riding home from work, and an idea hit me about a strong young lady that couldn't be strong. I'm married to a strong lady. My wife, my daughter is the same age as our character, Brenda D'Amico, who plays April Davis. And, so what would happen if, her strength is all of a sudden taken away from her and she had to rely on somebody else to take care of her and not family members take care of her? Somebody that she really does not know. And I found it to be a very compelling story and a psychological thriller because you don't know in this movie. And, if what happened to her is psychological, is it spiritual, is she being gaslighted by somebody? Is it all in her head? Is it alcohol, drug abuse? Or is it the supernatural? And I think a lot of it, even as you watch the movie and at the end of the movie, what happens, the way you are in your life, because we've all been faced with one of those 5 things in our life, either us or somebody in our family, determines how you view the end of that movie, because there's a lot of rugs jerked out from under you. And
twists and turns.
There's a lot of
that's the mark of a
turns.
great writer that can do that.
I sat down on a Friday night, and when I sat down, it's almost I get obsessed. And Amber can tell you, because I usually would shoot her a copy of hey, check this out. What do you think about it? And 48 hours later, we had the first rough draft of it.
Had you already someone already asked you for this, or that you were just doing this?
No. I just, when an idea hits, like I said, I don't bullet point. I don't write anything down. I just sit down and start writing. Let it just flow.
See
let
what
it come
see
to
what
me.
comes out.
Because and this is something I just wanted to write, and then I put it back, and then when people are looking for something, what genre do you want? And when I wrote that. I knew I had a special story when I was writing it. I knew it was a special story. It was a great, psychological thriller with a hint of horror to it, And I knew it was special, but, until we brought the team together, when we met with Amber and we brought in, Brenna, and then we brought Nikki Koss as the director. Nikki had her own show with Bella Thorne, Famous and Love. Nikki has an art flair, and with the color scheme that we used, the color palette, and the haunting music that we used, it was just beautiful. It had an art house look.
Yeah, even the poster art on it, very.
It's a scream to like Humphrey Bogart,
yeah,
things like that. Things from the '60s, Maltese Falcon, and. It was just something that I knew was special. But if we hadn't have went that direction with that, with the visualization of the colors and the music and the art, it would have been a gritty, more of a David Gordon Green look. Kind of like Joe, if you ever had seen it.
Another one you were in.
Yeah, I had a chance to work with him. They're a little bit more gritty. But I think that's what sets it apart, because there's thousands of indie films made every year that never make it out.
Now, I know that this has been distributed. You've had premieres across the country that have been very well received, and it's on Amazon Prime Video right now. You can get it on
Prime, you can get it on Vudu, you can get it on YouTube, you can get it on Apple TV, Microsoft, Google Play. It had a limited theatrical release, which is the direction most of these movies have been going through the COVID. Crisis, right. But it's we geared this toward a smarter audience that it's a very cerebral movie,
yes,
and makes you think, and really you got to watch it a couple of times before you catch the little nuances in it, even the color schemes, the art in the background, everything tells a story, not just the story, not just the actor or the actress, but certain points, if it's an anger scene, you'll see brighter colors and sharper images on the art.
Really?
If it's more of a chill scene. It'll be more subdued colors.
Subdued, really?
With
That's interesting.
with more rounded corners on the arc, because everything tells a story if you look at it, right?
Okay, next movie also shot during COVID restrictions, and that is Corsicana. Your involvement with that, Amber?
I'm executive producer of it. And line producer on set.
Everything. Producer of everything.
Yeah, she gets to do a lot. All right, we've got a trailer for that. So let's take a quick break and watch you say this is kind of a rough cut of Corsicana.
This is an extremely rough, what we call a sizzle reel.
Okay.
We had some people in Hollywood that wanted to
see it
before we had it.
It's got no color correction, no sound correction.
That's all right.
It still looks great.
All
That's
right,
wrong.
so everybody take a look.
What do you want?
Now that ain't no way to greet visitors.
Just keep on riding.
I don't think so, ma'am. We're gonna stay for a while.
Don and his gang will hire to terrorize and kill anybody that get in their way.
I assume you're a lawman?
Federal Marshal.
You're leaving again now?
Wherever this Donner boy goes, he leaves a trail of bodies behind. Men, women, children. If I don't stop him, I will have blood on my hand. I found this on the boy. He's been putting them on the victims ever since he killed your wife and your son. I'm gonna need you on my posse to stop him.
You know I'm ready to ride.
Mid-California. Sharpshooter.
It'll be a simple flank and shoot maneuver. Hit them from the front and from the rear as soon as they get through Eagle Pass.
Do you understand what it feels like to not know if you're hurt, dead, or alive? If you're ever gonna walk through that door? I don't think I can do this anymore, Bass.
You feel it? He's coming. I hope you made peace, Reeves. I aim to kill you. On that you could be sure, Buck.
Corsicana, shot in Corsicana, and you set a lot of these in your hometown, so it makes it easy, I guess, for you to keep your day job, right?
It does, absolutely. You know, everything I do is I try to center it around our local community.
Beautiful homes, though. I mean,
it is. Corsicana has a little bit of everything.
Places.
You know, we've made Corsicana 1880s London for AMC.
Really?
For the Murder Made Me Famous series. We've made it Milwaukee with snow and everything else. We made it upstate New York, Connecticut. We have made it into Mississippi. We made it into so many different states, so many different towns. But, you know, very lucky because, you know, my ties there, and of course our executive producer, McNutt's ties in Corsicana. You know, we know a lot of people, and obviously we couldn't do this if it wasn't for the great people of Corsicana. So what we tried to do is bring that back to Corsicana, and we tried to use the name Corsicana in the movies so that if you own a store and you let me use, say your store is Ann's Foods, Food Market, and you let us shoot there, well, with your permission, we leave everything the same. Ann's Food Market, we'll wear your shirts or your real advertisement, and that's free advertisement that you get. And of course, when you start making these movies, you leave a lot of money in town. You're there for a short period of time, but you know you have to look at our food bill runs $45,000 to $50,000. Now we love our chain stores.
Okay, so I want to talk about this. How these are independent films that you're making. It's got to be expensive. Where's the money come from to make that happen?
Well, for Night Night, it came from, I sold a house before I got married to Bob in 2010, and I invested my money pretty wisely. And so that paid for all of Night Night and
did you really
half of Corsicana. So, yeah.
And tell them what your other background is.
I'm a CPA as well.
That helps.
It's great to have that on our team.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure.
We each bring our own qualities. We've got, he writes, he's obviously he's a good speaker. I love for him to even speak for me, but anyway, and then, I am better with the numbers, and we both have different artistic abilities. I spot things he doesn't spot, and same goes for him. And we appreciate and respect each other. So,
immensely.
I mean, we can say all we want to that you're going to be on set, and you're going to be irritated with everybody and their dog by the time you're finished. But that said, he and I have remained completely respectful of each other through thick and thin. I mean, he has seen me at my worst moments and my best moments.
And vice versa.
And we...
Got to be some stressful moments in making a movie. Got to be.
It does get stressful because any little thing can go wrong. You've got an actress, and what if they break out in a rash? I mean...
Well, and of course we heard what happened with them, recently with a gun going off. And do you have weapons in these movies? I mean, do you have...
We do.
We had a lot of weapons in Corsicana, and, you just check them 10 times each. And
wow.
Anyway, that was
and
a
we have an
tragedy,
armor on set and that checks and double checks and prop master.
I mean, that had to have made you heart sick when you saw
it made everybody,
what happened with...
It did. It made everybody... really think about what you're doing and the safety techniques. And like I said, it was just a tragedy that happened. And I think, and that it just went across the industry.
Oh yeah,
and it just changed things. And of course, it always changes things for the better. Anything like that. But whenever you're working with, she's talking about the money portion. You make a mistake on a film and you don't make your day, or you miss a shot, that can cost us $25,000, $30,000 if you're not careful. And, so that's where the stress comes in. Because when we're shooting Corsicana, they always say don't work with children and animals. We did both. Work with 9 horses a day, 9 horses a day in 105-degree heat.
Yeah.
And children as well.
Wearing leather and...
Yes, and all that cowboy gear. And I tell you, it's, a period piece is probably one of the roughest things you could ever do.
Yeah.
You could ever do.
And again, Corsicana available...
It's not available yet.
It's not available yet.
It's not all the way finished with post-production.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Music is being put
with orchestra
to it
right now, I believe.
You have that can't be cheap.
No, we have a magnificent sound. Our score is going to be wonderful. It's a character in and of itself. We have an amazing...
Well, I think John Williams, think of, these fabulous composers and... and the addition that great music brings to a film.
Yes.
So Corsicana, the movie, yet to hit the big time.
Has yet to hit the big time yet, but it is already generating so much buzz. You Google Corsicana, Isaiah Washington.
And of course, he was on Grey's Anatomy.
Absolutely.
And the 100.
He was the chancellor of 100. P-Valley, yes. Yeah. He is constantly
You
working.
attract just amazing people in Hollywood wanting to work on these projects.
It's crazy
that you've originated.
When I first wrote Corsicana, it's a story about Bass Reeves and his partner. And when Isaiah Washington read, I think like the first 20 pages of the script, and he was like, "Yeah, I want in on this," and he comes down to Corsicana, and next thing you know, he wants to direct this. and
had he done a lot of directing?
This was his directorial debut.
Oh my goodness!
Now Isaiah is probably one of the best actors I have run across. I mean, he can play anything. And when I first met him in person, I didn't even recognize him. I'm used to seeing that baby face with the dimple.
Yeah.
Right there. And he has this big old beard, mustache on, and he's muscled, and everything. And I'm like, who is it? Then as soon as he started talking, Isaiah, what are you doing?
He was very good in that he wanted to portray a real Bass Reeves. He didn't want this. There's this one kind of famous picture of Bass, and he's just all fixed up with just the mustache, ready for a photo. That's not what he would have looked like running around in 1895 out in the wilderness, catching criminals. He's famous for, he's an absolutely famous historical figure, and Isaiah wanted to portray him in a natural way. So he would have had a beard. He wouldn't have been perfect. He would have yet still looked nice. And also, Bass Reeves would dress up and play a character. For instance, we have a scene where he's acting like he's drunk and to catch some criminals. And that's real. Those are things that Bass Reeves really did. And so I call it a historical fiction. I love to read historical fiction.
Yeah,
so
I think that I've never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely correct, because I didn't know at the time. I knew Bass Reeves. I've known about Bass Reeves for 40 years because of my work in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't know, Bass Reeves was most likely the original model for the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that. And so, he was United States Deputy Marshal that escaped slavery back during the Civil War, went to live with the Indians up in the Oklahoma Territory, which was basically lawless at the time.
Which is how you would have met Tonto.
And he ended up learning their ways, speaking several different Indian dialects, learned how to track.
Interesting.
He used all of those skills. And when he made his way back to Fort Polk, Arkansas, he ended up being appointed by a federal magistrate as United States Deputy Marshal. And then his legend began, more than 3,000 felony arrests. He had to kill 14 people, even arrested his own son for murder. This man was an absolute genius. He went after the worst of the worst because that's how he got paid. He got paid by the rewards. They would pay him a stipend for the food and a guy that would go with him. And then everything else he had to earn by the people that he bought in. So I thought it was important to capture that story as close as you could and still make it extremely interesting. So I mixed the real history of Bass Reeves with some of the real history of Corsicana. Now, the two never cross paths in real life, but I mixed some of the old history of Corsicana and how they were coming to Corsicana from Valverde, Texas. And then we mixed in a really good story about redemption and revenge along the way. And it's not your typical Western, I don't think, because one thing, as we were talking, even when I was writing this, we did not want 10 different shades of brown and dust.
Right.
Which
like
is
every other Western.
We didn't want to see a saloon. We didn't want to see anybody shot off a banister and fall over. Didn't want to see a shootout in Main Street. We didn't want to see everybody hit everything they aim at, because that's not real life.
Right.
That's movies. And the way they portrayed this, they nailed every bit of that. And the countryside is as much of a character as the story is. So when you're not looking at the action, you're looking at the countryside. Because again, we shot this in Corsicana. We went from plains to rolling hills to thick, dark green oak trees.
And a cliff.
And the cliff side. So we have a lot of different geographical or topography in the movie that makes it interesting and doesn't rely on the same town in Arizona, New Mexico, where they film all the westerns.
Where they do a lot of westerns. Yeah. Okay, one more film. I know we're going a little long, but that's okay. This is so interesting, and that is called Redstone.
Yes.
And it's in development, right?
Oh, Redstone is in the can.
It is in the can?
It's actually released December the 2nd.
Okay, all righty. We got a trailer.
Yes, we got a trailer on it.
So let's take a look.
Get in the back and stay down. Now!
Dark forces abound. Someone talking, saying things that can bring down this whole big, beautiful world. Well, not just for me, for my family. For you.
I'm in trouble and I need your help.
Your brother tell you anything?
Daddy took something from him. It's the Redstone.
You got it? Said they saw a kid at the front door. A few minutes later, gunshots.
Motley Adams.
What do you do?
Took something from me. Ruby.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll be talking to you, Mott. Say hi to your brother for me. And that pretty mama of yours, too.
Need the ruby and the kid brought back here. Today. Source says there's a Fed in town.
A lot to clean up today.
FBI, get in the car.
The man your brother works for is extremely dangerous.
Where's the kid?
All right, this is another one you wrote.
I didn't write this one.
Okay.
I wouldn't look at Derek Presley, a gentleman here in Dallas, wrote this, and he also directed it. Jason Starn, producer. Jason was going to film this. They were going to film this in another location. Somebody told him about me. We ended up meeting, and now we're like best friends, and you're best friends with him too.
He was my date.
Oh, really?
He is just such a...
He's totally uncomfortable when I call it that.
No, he is
It's a
such a
joke.
wonderful
It's a joke. Yeah,
person.
I was by myself at our Malibu premiere for night, and I'm like, you come. You come to this.
And he brought me on as producer.
Okay.
And we ended up moving the production and shot it 100% in Corsicana.
Oh, I love it.
And,
I mean, Navarro County, what a way to get it on the map.
Who would have ever thought this, 10 years ago? But like I said,
But Texas has been friendly, though. Texas has got a lot to help with films that are being made.
The incentive program kind of went downhill about 10 years ago.
Did it?
At one time we had a very good incentive program, and then it kind of went by the wayside. The Texas Senate voted it down, took a lot of that money away, and kind of split it between the film world and the video game world. And so there's not as much money to go around now, incentive packages. But because of our relationships and the way we do movies, we have a saying: we do it our way.
Mm-hmm.
We do it our way. We learn everything we possibly can, and then we're like, we're going to do it our way. And our way seems to work for us. It may not work for everybody, but it works for us. And so if you're shooting a movie that's under a couple of $1 million, I can save you. We can save you. I mean, I've seen movies that were $800,000 that we ended up shooting for $250 for people, and they look like $3, $4, $5 million movies.
Well, you can tell by the trailers. I
Absolutely.
mean, the quality of these
Production
don't look
value.
like they were thrown together.
I mean, you look at the wreck scene that you opened up with on Night Night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that wreck scene, if you had filmed that in L.A., that'd have been $110,000, $120,000. That right there is what I'm talking about. We save people money, and they have such a good experience. As you said before, you see some of the same people coming back over and over and over, because this doesn't list everything we've done, all the commercials, and all the print stuff.
Yeah.
We've done right around 100 or so in the past probably 6 years that come to Corsicana. Some of them are student films, some are college films. We try to help people.
Sure.
Because, you may be helping the next Spielberg. You don't know.
Right, you don't know.
And Amber and I, we've both been very lucky in life, and we're very appreciative of things that people have done for us, because nobody does it by themselves. I don't care who they are. I don't care, they say, well, I did this by myself through hard work, dedication. No, you did it because A, you didn't quit, and B, somebody kept giving you chances even when you blew it.
Right.
And so we try to return that favor and help other filmmakers that don't have the money. And if we have a little bit of time, we'll go in and we'll help them. We'll help them get their film done, because you never know. Number one, it's the right thing to do, and number two, who knows? Like I said, that rising tide raises all the boats in the harbor. Not just one, but everybody gets. They raise up at the same time. And
such a healthy way to look at a business that one would just assume is a very cutthroat, stab in the back.
It is, but like I said, Amber and I cannot control other people.
Right.
But we can control ourselves.
There you go.
We can control our reactions.
And set your standard of how you want things to go. This has been so delightful to hear from you. And you're writing more things. You've got another what?
Got a great
horror
cop thriller.
film?
Yeah.
You got
a great cop thriller I'm working on. And then we're going to finish up one I'm working on with
You've already got a sequel for it.
559 is another. Like I said, I tend to gravitate toward the thrillers.
Yeah.
And I got a great science fiction movie that I've written, Project Codefire.
Yeah.
And, that's, so I'm just looking forward to see what the next few years bring. And, we get people that contact us on a regular basis, other projects. So sometimes you'll be right in the middle of working on one. They go, hey, we need some help on so-and-so.
Right. You don't know what else they have in the back of their mind, other projects, and just knowing the people, the personality you have, Robert and Amber, to just work with people, and your creativity is certainly appreciated, and it's just wonderful to hear what all you're doing with these films.
We're just having fun, and again, I just want to thank everybody in Corsicana that works with us, because you couldn't do it if it wasn't for the local townspeople, because we got a wonderful community. We may not be the richest in Texas, but we love it. I love it there.
Your crime rate's low?
Our crime rate, we have lowered the crime rate every single year since I've been there.
Good job,
which
Chief.
is a wonderful. Well, it's not me. I have the least important job up there. The guys and young ladies that you see in those cars out there, they're the important ones. I could be gone and nobody would notice. They wouldn't miss a beat. A couple of them go, you would definitely notice it. And so I'm very thankful.
And we appreciate the work of those police officers.
And thank you for
and
that.
all that they do. But appreciate and thank you so much for spending time with us today, Amber McNutt, Chief Robert Johnson. It's great
Bobby
to have
J,
you.
as you call me.
Well, look him up on IMDb, because you're just doing great things.
Well, thank you, and follow me on RJ1145. That's RJ1145 on Instagram.
Okay.
And
Mrs. Amber 7 on Instagram.
Very good.
And kind of keep up with some of the cool things that's going on, because the people we work with are a lot cooler than we are.
That's hard to believe.
I know you would think, but they are so cool. When I watch some of these people, they just amaze me.
Well, it's great talent here, and I appreciate you.
And thank you very much for having us. It's always a pleasure to see you.
It's been fun.
Thank you.
Central Texas Living is part of the Rogue Media Network family. Be sure to check out their other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate us 5 stars on iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Living, the podcast.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.